Hello, hello, hello. We are back today, post election day. It's Friday. We are waiting for some results. Hopefully, I'll have a special guest that will walk us through some U.S. presidential results in a little bit. But while we're waiting, we're going to bring on my good friend, Sara Palmisono. Let's see. Do we have you, Sara?
Good morning.
Awesome. Well, it is so good to see you today. It's good to see you, period. We haven't put eyes on each other in quite a few months.
I know we haven't eaten Thai food together in a very long time with all of our other organizing sisters.
You know what? I met you a few years ago at the Northern Solano Democratic Club. And we immediately were like, I don't know, we just became literally instant friends.
Mm-hmm. I think it's that what you were speaking on, the topic you were speaking on was voter registration and engagement, especially in communities of color and the history. And that is one of the things that really connected me with working in voter registration and voter engagement. And so, yeah, I was just like, oh, you're one of my people. You are tribe.
Right. Right. Well, I felt the same thing about you because I didn't know many more people that just was crazy about voter registration, So it was like we could talk that language, and then we went to a papa together,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like I don't know. I feel like we'll be friends forever.
I think so too. Change the world together.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So we have, I wanted to bring us through, and by the way, with this platform, sometimes we get a whole lot of people in the chat, and then other times we get a lot of people that look at it afterwards. And right now we're usually at 500 to 1,000 people that view us later and make comments. So just wanted to let you know that. But in the meantime, I'm going to make sure that all of our streams are working. Yeah, there's a possibility that our streams aren't working. That is absolutely a possibility. So that's okay. What we'll do is just record it and put it out there. So with that, I want to show you our Solano County Register of Voters. And I'm so glad that you could come on because we've been looking at the unofficial election results for Vacaville and upper Solano, northern Solano County, and there was a big shift there. So while I find Vacaville, let me say this. So when I met you a few years ago, I remember there was a group of people that were going to, you were going to different city council meetings. You were speaking up on different issues. But it seemed like it was politically one-sided. It didn't feel balanced when you all talked about it. So while I put that up, tell me a little bit about the lay of the land pre this election.
I would say hostile to the kind of politics that I personally believe in, and that the Northern Solano Democratic Club, which I'm the outreach chair, works hard to get officers in offices. Previously, I would say our city council was mostly conservative. The only truly friendly that we've had for the last 2 years has been Nolan Sullivan, who's incredible at his job, great city council member. Unfortunately, Mayor Ron Rowlett didn't give him anything to do. He had almost no, assignments or commissions or committees or anything. Really smart guy, works in nonprofits in Yolo County. And I think a lot of us watched Nolan get frustrated, and I think we backed him up. I think that was our goal, was to help our community grow in the way that our community's politics reflect. Registration-wise, Democrats have a slight edge in Vacaville, and it was never reflected in who was elected. The only Democrats that I can think of who were on school board as of last go round, which was 18, was Mike Silva. And then also Mike Kitzes has been on for several years. Thankfully, he's one of my favorite people. He's a great school board member, really measured decision maker. Ran for mayor in 2018, but Ron Rowlett's machine with police and fire behind was a little bit too much. And police and fire lost this time. A lot of the candidates, all the candidates that are currently in losing positions, were supported locally by police and fire unions. And I think people kind of said, well, we're not living in fear. We want to see our community grow. We want to see progress here in Vacaville. And I think it's a pretty big referendum here on the kind of politics that Ron Rowlett, as our mayor, has eschewed towards. He appointed Vice Mayor Beatty, who wasn't duly elected. He was appointed after Ron took over as mayor to Ron's old council seat.
Okay.
He was a runner-up in the city council election, but was never duly elected. And then he was appointed vice mayor right before this election. Also, by California state law, we should have had an election for his seat after he was appointed. It goes appointment and then election, because you don't disenfranchise your voters like that.
But would you do a special election for just that one seat? Wouldn't that be really expensive? It
would be about $400,000. But considering the budget, and this is Nolan Sullivan's point, considering the budget in Vacaville, is in the tens of millions, $400,000 for Democratic representation, isn't a ton of money when it really comes down to how much money these folks deal with. The other thing that could have happened is they could have had an election at the primary, or at the California primary. They could have had a special election then for that seat, and they could have had it now for that seat. But they never had the special election for that seat. Instead, they rolled him in with District 6, and thankfully he lost to Jeanette Wiley. And now the mayor is on another one where Councilmember Mitch Mashburn was elected to county supervisor seat, and he'll take that over in January. And now Ron is insisting on appointing someone to his seat at large, as opposed to from District 2. There's some community members and organizing around making sure that appointment comes from District 2, but Ron really doesn't listen to the people. And I think the people of Vacaville know that, and I think that's why they give such a strong referendum on the folks he supported. Not a single person he supported made council.
Because I knew that there was and at first I have to tell you, I don't live in Vacaville. I'm not a Vacaville citizen, but like as a person, I dig Ron. I thought that he seemed to be, and again, I'm not a citizen, but he seemed to be kind of that he would listen, that you can meet with him and he would be open-minded. And you're not finding that?
That's not my personal experience, no. And it wasn't when he was a council member either. We butted heads over having, a pride declaration in Vacaville. I want to say that was 2016, when Julia Hahn and myself and a lot of other community activists got involved in the map districting. He wanted to limit the amount of districts, which would, limit the equity of power. And even Curtis Hunt, who was quite a conservative city council member, was on our side there saying, Vacaville's growing and Vacaville's changing, and we need to allow for more seats at the table. And Ron Rowlett wanted fewer. I often get platitudes, but I don't ever get direct and honest communication from him. He also changed his voter affiliation from Democrat to Independent in 2018 after the Northern Solano Democratic Club endorsed Michael Kitzes instead of Ron Rowlett for mayor. And frankly, I just don't feel like he, as a Democrat, as a progressive, I just don't feel like he upholds, the tenets or the planks of our platform. We diverge a lot.
Hmm. Well, so now walk us through what our new Vacaville City Council is going to look like, and what type of, and also let us know if you feel like it's going to give that balance of voice that
Yeah,
you were talking about.
absolutely. The balance of voice is going to be there now. Roy, I am not very familiar with. I have heard good things.
I
Um,
like that a
I
lot.
was involved with the People's Forum, which was an entirely crowdsourced voter forum that we had with all the candidates. Um, and his answers were great to our questions. We asked hard questions. We asked about mental health in our communities. We asked about Black Lives Matter. We asked about LGBTQ rights. Things that often are very important in your representation, especially at a city level, but questions that don't get asked by the Chamber of Commerce or any of the typical um, uh, forums. So Roy's answers were great, and I actually really appreciated him. But I was supporting Wendy. I do love Wendy. She's just a great woman. Really, really smart, really driven. But I think Roy is going to be an asset to Vacaville as well. Mike Silva, like a personal friend, worked on his campaign, but also his work with the school district has been really amazing. And it's great to have, a, a Latino man on city council where, a fair amount of our community members are Latino and haven't seen that kind of representation, I think, for their community. He's a Democrat. And not that that necessarily means he's going to be good at his job, but he's also pushing for working between the district and the city, which currently doesn't happen and is really important. Just a plug for Mike, if you are interested, his victory party is tonight on Zoom. It's going to be a lot of fun. Jason is a newcomer kind of to the scene for us. I know he's been here for a long time. A lot of people know him. And he just blew my mind when the fires were happening. He lives in District 5, and he was evacuated and was very affected. And we had a group text going on with kind of, how Mr. Rogers says, look for the helpers. We had a group text of everyone. And he was running from house to house, digging trenches to save people's homes. He ruined a pair of boots and put kind of a public service announcement of like, make sure your shoes are able to handle this stuff, because I could have gotten seriously hurt. He does incredible work with vets. He's a vet himself. All around, just a really great guy. And I think Vacaville said, after this last year and what we went through, we need someone like that in leadership here who has a steady hand when it comes to emergency services. And Jeanette, last but absolutely not least, a past teacher. I love Jeanette. She's so effective, and she has so much energy to put towards, local things, especially when it comes to like affordable housing. There's a lot of specific issues in their district. There's specific taxes and sort of there's no school there. And there's just a lot for her to dig into. And I think she really is the perfect person to. She's been with the Democratic Club. She's a past president, just incredibly effective. I volunteer with her at an event every year, and she has charts, and she knows where you should be and where everyone should be. And when you volunteer for someone and they're just like so effective and you're like, oh my God, run for president. That was truly how I feel about working with Jeanette Wiley. So, and that was a hard race to win because Raymond Beatty was the vice mayor appointed, but he was the vice mayor, and that was a hard race. And she got out there. All of our candidates walked, I think, every door in their precinct, which is bonkers. It's really helped that we've had districts because that makes, the hurdle to being able to run for office financially and time-wise a lot lower. But I know for sure Mike Silva, Jeanette Wiley, and Jason all knocked every door in their district and talked to folks who were willing to talk to them. It was kind of a strange year because of masks and COVID. But yeah, I was just so impressed with the crop of candidates in Vacaville this year. Really impressed.
Me too. Well, let me ask you this. What does this mean? Like, what will this city council look like?
Well, it's interesting. So we still have Mayor Ron Rowlett. He's not up till 22, so there's that. And then we also have whoever he appoints to Mitch's seat. And so that's, probably more than likely going to be a friendly. And that's kind of another thing that's happening is a lot of folks here feel kind of disenfranchised, like he's taking away their vote and making the appointments himself. He only has to get, I think only one person has to concur with him on who the replacement is for District 2, which is Mitch Mashburn's current seat. So it'll be interesting. There might be deadlock between sort of a lot of these council members and the mayor. But if Jason pulls it out, it's still pretty close with him and Sheree, but I'm calling it a win. If Jason pulls it out, we'll have an effective council who is really looking into stuff like, again, affordable housing in Vacaville. It's bonkers. The cost of living here is just crazy. Apartments are overly inflated, and a lot of that has to do with a lot of kind of the inner workings of developers and the kinds of development that are going on here. And I think, this is a city council that's going to listen to folks. I am well known for going to city council meetings and speaking my mind, and often just get ignored. A lot of our community is. We have maybe a dozen at this point. Our city council meetings are really entertaining if you turn into comments from the floor. We have about a dozen folks who, want to see some change. We've had some clashes with police that are incredibly unfortunate. Things have happened to our protesters that we feel are illegal or at least should be discussed. And I think there's a lot of people that want to see change in Vacaville when it comes to our leadership and voted that way.
So what do people do to get more involved and impact change? Like, we have this balance of city council members. Do we just say, oh, they were elected?
Oh, no.
Now let's go sit down.
No. The work starts now. I mean, I think if this year has really taught us anything, it's that you have to, there's direct action, there's protests, there's, being loud about the things that are important. There's community care is incredibly important. There's, especially when it comes to having a council that listens, there's, behind the scenes stuff where they can reach out to community organizers and say, hey, we hear you and we want to talk about this. I think when it comes to being a citizen, like, that's an active role you have to take. If there's something that you care about and you want to see change, you have to go to council. You have to email your council members. You have to stay engaged. You have to find amazing people in your community who seem like leaders and buoy them, especially women of color in Vacaville, which I feel like is a representation, especially Black women, that's missing in the leadership here. It's not up to them to come to us and say, hey, I want to run for office. It's up to folks who are engaged to go out and find those people and say, hey, you should run for office and we'll support you. And we have a system to do that. And I feel like this year, shout out to Nolan Sullivan, who is a dynamo when it comes to really everything he does. And also Jeannie White, who's the president of the Northern Solano Democratic Club. We all kind of got together in a very specific way, in a way to, create more room for people to be able to access power easily with more support. Northern Solano Democratic Club may sound kind of silly, but we did a mailer to every Democratic household in Vacaville, Fairfield, and Sassoon. And most of our candidates, most of our slate won. And that isn't something that we've been able to do before. We haven't had the resources. We fundraised. We had Alice Wilson-Freed, our incredible secretary. We did a cooking show with her.
I loved it.
Oh, it was so fun. We raised a bunch of money. That food was so good. I got the leftovers because I was the one filming. A+. Shout out to Alice. But yeah, we came up with really creative ways. That was Julia Hahn's idea, Vice President, Northern Solano Democratic Club, also a community organizer. Anyway, we came up with creative ways to make money, and then we use that money really to support our candidates. And I think our goal moving forward is to find more creative ways to support our candidates and create a deeper bench, not just in Vacaville, but in Fairfield as well. We need people who we're not begging to run for office, but we've sort of run through the system and are ready to run for office and excited and, we'll win.
Well, I'm glad you say that because I think what you all have done at the Northern Solano Democratic Club needs to be reviewed and replicated their own way in other areas. The way you open, the way arms are, first of all, when I walked in there, arms were opened. It was like, hello, you're new and we're going to make you feel at home. And that's not that I can't say I think I'm pretty friendly, and I don't always feel that coming back to me when I'm walking into Democratic clubs. In fact, there's some that I will specifically one in Vallejo, I will never ever walk into that Democratic club again. Never. It was the most toxic, scary place ever. And so you all do it right. You start talking to candidates. A, you help bench and pipeline. B, when people step up and say, I'm running, you're behind them. You don't just disappear. You don't just put people up and disappear. And we see that happening all the time. You put people up and then their numbers are dismal because you just left them out there. And then that fundraiser, thinking about raising money in this unique time, I thought that was brilliant. And the fact that like you all are mobilizers individually. So you endorse early and then you have like this kicktail of a team that comes in and they're like, what do you need? I just think you all do everything right. You need to teach, you need to almost teach model, Northern Solano Democratic Club. And I told Julia that, and she was like, no, we've got work to do. And we all do, but I think you're ahead of the game. I do.
I think kind of one of the really great things within a Northern Solano Democratic Club, especially this year in such a crunch time, has been that our e-board, we really like each other. And so working together isn't a task. Like we were all talking about sort of, who is our superstars this year and who should we award, because Northern Solano Club, gives out rewards at the end of the year. And I kind of was looking at the screen and I was like, well, all of you guys, like everyone on the screen is a superstar. You obviously can't do that. But John Lowry and his candidate trainings are just, I know people think a candidate training is going to be like watching paint dry, but they're so invaluable. The information that he gives is so invaluable. And his experience with Solano County, he called, I would say, most of the elections. We were just on an e-board meeting on Monday night, and we were talking about, being a little bit nervous for these candidates. But other than maybe 1, 2, maybe 3, I think he had everyone. I think he kind of knew the lay of the land and what was going to happen. So our little blue wave, we put a lot of work into. And obviously Jeannie White, Julia Hahn, like our team we really enjoy working with each other, and we all really value cooperation and organization. And I think we're really looking to grow into, I'm outreach, but maybe have an outreach team, and we're looking for more people to come. We want to have a policy discussion. We want to be able to have sort of breakout groups. We're going to do a retreat with our members and sort of see who's interested in leadership in the future, who wants to take on specific roles. We've got, especially after the summer, a lot of protests and a lot of online organizing has brought some really incredible people into our orbit. Mary Vasquez, Yanja Bocanegra, Christina Palmer. And so a lot of young women and young women of color, which is great because, all of our faces except for Alice are pasty white. But yeah, we're really hoping to kind of develop a lot of folks who are interested in not only just, running for office, but the other parts of helping a community grow and become more progressive.
What we're going to do is, because I see there's a technical issue with the stream. So what we're going to do is when we post this video, I'll go in and put the the links to the Democratic Club, because I believe, I know when I first came to see you all, I saw you in person, but I believe you're just as warm virtually too. So we want as many people to know that you exist and see your club.
Yeah, our meeting is Tuesday. We actually don't have an agenda because we just kind of wanted to hear from our candidates and hear. We didn't know if we were going to have a president by then. We didn't know who was going to know what at that point. So we just kind of cleared our agenda for everyone to have a safe space to, have a conversation about the election. So if you're interested, hit us up on Facebook. We'll send you the Zoom link. We've been having our meetings and will for the foreseeable future on Zoom. We've had really great guest speakers since, because everyone's available when you're on Zoom. So we've had, Congressman Garamendi. Down the line, we've had really interesting speakers from the Secretary of State's office talking about elections and registration, which is totally our jam. So yeah, our meetings have been really interesting over the course of the year, just because we have more access, because folks just need to, jump on their computer as opposed to coming out to the IBEW hall.
Right. Okay, well, I tell you, I appreciate you. You can hang out, but we're going to also bring on Kevin
Mcnamara. It's a mouthful.
As my son says, Mr. Mac. He didn't even go to elementary school in Fairfield, but he knew him as one of the best teachers in Fairfield. So, which
awesome.
is pretty thrilling. But let's see, I don't know if he's quite ready yet. We'll give him a few minutes. Maybe he'll hear us talking about him and jump on. And what Kevin was going to talk about, we just felt like there was this vacancy of people that were, on the show and really highlighting races that are in northern Solano County. I'm just looking, the Solano County Board of Education trustee number 2, Amy Sharp and Dr. Bonnie Hamilton. There's a little gap there.
What are the NAPA numbers though?
I don't know. I'm trying to just completely be obsessed with Solano County. So only when people send me a message specifically about their races outside of Solano County, does that kind of come in my sphere. Otherwise, it just doesn't. It doesn't at all.
I think Bonnie was up there. Let me make sure.
Okay, and while you look, I see we have Kevin has come on. So I'm going to bring, I'm bringing on Kevin.
There I am.
Hello.
Good morning.
There
How
you
are.
Today? I'm excited to see you. I when I see you, I smile because I was at you know what? It was the candidate training that we were just talking about.
Uh-huh.
We were at a candidate training and I was talking to you afterwards and driving to pick up my son in high school. And, sometimes for the most part, he ignores me and acts like I don't exist. But then sometimes he says, "Who are you talking to? What are you doing?" Like he seems interested. And I was like, "Oh, I'm talking to Mr. Kevin Mcnamara." Am I saying your name right?
It's Mcnamara. It's N-A-M.
Uh-oh.
So it's M-C, N as in Nancy, A, M as in Mary, A-R-A.
Mcnamara.
No. And
okay. So your audio.
Just call me Mr. Mac or Kevin Mac.
You know what? Because your audio, and your audio is going in and out a little bit too.
And I hear you the same way.
Yep, it just went out.
Ah.
Oh, really? It's broken up?
Yours is breaking up my way, and it's probably because it's it's work and school time, and there are just too many people using the internet, especially in Rio Vista. You know, we're a small town.
Right. So Well, while that stabilizes and I'm going to Rio Vista's numbers, I'll tell you that I was talking to my son and he says, "Are you talking about Mr. Mack?" And then I text you, I was like, "Are you Mr. Mack?" And you said, "Uh-huh." And he said he didn't go to school here. He went to elementary school in Vallejo. We got here for high school, and he says he knew you were one of the best teachers because his friends all said that their best teacher was you. And I thought that was pretty amazing.
That's really nice to hear.
Yeah. But you just retired. You recently retired, right?
In June of 17.
You know, your numbers I'm missing them. Hold on, let me just go one more time and try to find your numbers because, well, let me ask you this. Are you Rio Vista doesn't have a unified school district. Is that right?
Actually, Rio Vista is part of what's called River Delta Unified, which is a school district that runs all the way from Clarksburg up on the Sacramento.
We don't hear you yet. Hold on. There you are. You're back.
Yeah. Rio Vista is part of this huge rural district, school district that goes all the way, that's in part of 3 different counties.
Oh my goodness.
Part of the district's in Solano County, part of the district's in Yolo County, and part of the district's in Sacramento County.
Oh my goodness.
We have 2 high schools in the district, Rio Vista High and Delta High School up in Clarksburg is part of our district. So, but you know, our high schools are very small. I think Rio Vista is about 600 students and Clarksburg is about like 450.
So can you see the Rio Vista numbers on the screen? If not, I'll tell you what I see.
No, I can't read them.
No, okay. So it says here that you only have 4 precincts in Rio Vista.
Yeah.
And that Donald Knott has 2,336 votes. And Emily, is it Gollinger? Has 2,167. So there's like a 2, well, you probably could get the numbers quicker than I can, but about 50, almost 200 gap vote between them.
Yeah.
Are you thinking there's more votes coming in?
Probably not enough to change that in town. It's kind of unfortunate. We had 2 Democrats run against Ron Cott. And they kind of split the vote up just enough so that he was able to win with a plurality.
Why do people continue to do that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I saw that happen in Vallejo, and people really just don't get that it absolutely impacts the numbers.
Yeah, and you know, Rio Vista is pretty evenly split between Democrats, Republicans. Well, actually, it's kind of Democrats independents, and then Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
Democrats and independents make up a majority of the city, and only not even 30% are registered Republicans.
Okay.
But a lot of those independents tend to vote Republican here.
So for there's something called a Rio Vista short term and a Rio Vista full term, vote for two.
Right.
And I wanted to give us a quick summary of what the difference was.
Okay. When Ron Kopp became mayor, he was appointed mayor because our previous mayor, Norm Richardson, died. And so he was appointed to become mayor. And then Eric Dolk was appointed to fill out Ron Kopp's seat. And then at the next election, the general election, they have to vote for him to fill out the rest of the term. So he's on so the one is a 2-year term, and the rest of the council was up for 4-year terms.
Got it. Okay, so I'm getting word from my technical support that we're not streaming or saving. So
okay.
So I think what we need to do is let me